So this is what we've been waiting for, an air conditioning unit. It's been really hot recently. I thought about getting a roof mounted aircon for the motorhome, but I tended to think, don't get that many hot days in the UK summer. But this arrived in May and I started testing it back then. But I've had a couple of issues with it. So we didn't take it with us on the Adamo tour, but we did take it with us on our Isle of Wight tour. And that turned out to be one of the hottest Junes on record. So I've had plenty of time to get to know this unit, and I really think I can help decide whether this is for you or not. Now I've asked for a replacement unit because of those issues, and I'll let you know how I get on with that. What I'll cover in this video is, I'll tell you what EcoFlow say about their product, I'll show you what's in the boxes, and I'll go through the controls, the specifications, the prices. I'll show you how we use it at home and away in our motorhome, and I'll also compare it with a roof mounted or a bench mounted air conditioning unit that you could have installed in your motorhome. And I'll give you my honest opinion on the pluses and the drawbacks. But first, what do EcoFlow say about their own products? So EcoFlow is about capturing energy, storing energy and using energy in a smart and innovative way. EcoFlow's newest additions to their lineup of smart devices aim to simplify everyday living, with an innovative solution such as the Blade, an automatic lawnmower with lawn sweeping capabilities, and the Glacier, which we've previously reviewed, an all-in-one device that triples as a fridge freezer and the industry's first integrated ice maker. And finally, the WAVE, which I'm reviewing here, the WAVE 2, and that's a follow-up to the most powerful and compact air conditioning and heating unit on the market. It can be used anywhere, anytime. So EcoFlow's key facts. They say it's the fastest heating and cooling portable air conditioning unit. It can drop 10 degrees C in 5 minutes in cooling mode, or raise 10 degrees C in 5 minutes in heating mode. It has an 8-hour runtime with an add-on battery in eco mode, and it offers multiple modes. It has an app. It can run quietly in sleeping mode, that's 44 dB, and runs for up to 8 hours in eco mode. It can also run off a power station like the EcoFlow Delta 2. It's installation free, it fits anywhere, motorhomes, trucks, outdoors. You can take it anywhere and there's no installation required. Fast charge in 5 ways, at home or on the go. You can use it with AC, with solar panels, power stations or car chargers. So you can be cool and comfortable wherever you go and whenever you want. Some sort of cowl. Another cowl. Quick start guide. Yeah, looks like something you might need, isn't it? That is. Another cowl. Piping, so yeah. Piping. Looks like drain tube type thing. Oh, right. Something fell in. Silica gel. What that's for. Out of the way. And there's the unit itself. Okay, looks like the battery connector for the extra battery. Looks like charging port comes off. Right, time to read the manual. Right, so that button to switch it on. and it takes up the mode it had last. Okay, this button over here changes the mode. Yeah, so that's chilling. Press it again, that's heating, and that's just a fan, that just blows. That symbol there means it's blowing cold. That symbol there means it's blowing cool air. Mostly you're going to have it on the chilling setting, particularly in the summer. This button over here changes the settings within the mode. So that's max mode, that's night mode, and that's eco mode. These two buttons change the temperature. This button over here changes the fan speed. If you hold that button, it switches on the drain function, and more on that a little bit later. If you hold this button, it switches this display. Hold it. Let's leave it on eco for a minute. If you hold this button, it changes it from ambient air temperature, that's the temperature it's taking in, press it again, to the temperature it's putting out. So the temperature from the vent here to the temperature inside. And that's quite handy. And that's basically all the buttons there. So the mode button, temperature adjustment, fan speed, on off, and the mode button. So switch it off, press and hold this for about 3 seconds. It goes through like a cool down thing, and then it switches itself off. So that's the controls, quite simple. On the front here you've got vents that you can direct the cold air. This is where the cold air comes out of, and this vent here is where the warm air comes out of. That's the air that's been chilled, that's coming out warm now. It takes the heat out of the air and pushes it out through that vent. On the front is an air intake here, and this, it has a cover on it, and you can see the radiator type valves. Now it's removable, and as you can see there's a bit of dust on this, which sort of proves I've been using it. They say you can clean this with a damp cloth, so I will probably do that a little bit later. Just wanted to leave it on there to prove that I have been using this. Now looking at the back of it, and this is the other air intake valve, same sort of thing. This cover comes off, and as you can see I have been using it. A little bit of water in there, and I'll come on to that a little bit later. On the bottom here is a drain valve, well, sort of a plug really, and to get it out you squeeze these two lugs together and it comes out, and as you can see there's a bit of water coming out, so I'm just going to put that back, and that allows you to drain it. You can attach a pipe to it here, and that should allow the unit to drain itself, and that's why you've got two drain functions. One is using it condenses the water. There's like a tray inside, and it condenses the water as it's working, and that works in certain humidities as I understand it, but sometimes you do have to drain it. Now I'll come on to this a little bit later, but I've not had any success using the pipe on this. So that is the other air intake. So if you think about it, two air intakes, front and back, and two air outlets. On the side of it we've got a little sliding door, and there's two connections here. This bottom connection is for connecting either the additional battery, which I'll show you in a minute, or for connecting one of the EcoFlow's Delta series power banks. This one here is for connecting to your solar panel or to a car charger, and I'll show you those. Now this lead, oops, yeah. This lead with these connectors is what you connect to the solar panel. Now this is an additional lead. You will need this if you want to connect this to a solar panel. Now the thing about this connection here is this connection only works when you connect the backup battery, because there's no battery built into the unit itself. As it is at the moment, it will only work on AC, and that's it. You need a backup battery or a Delta 2 unit or a Delta unit plugged into this socket here. So if you're going to use it with one of the Delta power banks, you're going to need one of these cables, and they plug in into there, and that end goes to your power bank. I'll show you that later. And the final thing on this unit here is a little cable tidy unit. It's got a little, it's quite difficult to get off, but it's got a little unit, and that's for wrapping your AC cable around, and it just sort of plugs in there. It's a little rubber cover. Move that out of the way, and it's just a little cable tidy. Put your cable around it like I showed you earlier. So that's the EcoFlow unit itself. I now want to show you the cowls. Smallest of the cowls goes on the top here. It's a little bit difficult to do this one-handed, but let's see if I can do it. There we go. And that's the one you're probably going to use the most. And what that cowl allows you to do is to use one of these hoses. Do you see there's like a little couple of arrows there? Those arrows line up to that there. Turn it with the ring, and that locks the hose in place. That hose is now ready to go out of the window, because that's going to be the hot air coming out of the unit. So you stretch that out, and obviously it's one of these stretchy hoses, and you can put that wherever. So more likely I'm going to put it outside that window there. The other cowl, the biggest cowl, is the one that goes on the back of this, and this is a little bit tricky to get on. You have to give it quite a push, and then that goes on there. And then the larger hose, this one, is the one that goes on there. Again, the arrow into the slot there, and turn it. And that's the setup you can have if you want to draw in fresh air from outside and expel the hot air to the outside. So what they do is they've given you a template to put those out of the window, because both of those will go out the window. Let me show you. So I think this is like a template for cutting holes. The idea is that these hoses are going to go out of the window, and obviously this is not going to be big enough to shut off the whole window, but let's show you what it looks like. Now this is one of the problems I have with using it in the motorhome. You really couldn't be doing with this with two hoses. You could fill in the whole window with a blank piece of hardboard or something with two holes in it and put that out the window, but really you're not going to be doing that in a motorhome. So this is the sort of setup I've had. I haven't been using the hose on that side or this blanking plate, but just a hose going out of an open window, closing the curtains to keep some of the hot air from outside inside, and this unit has been on the floor. And that's what I've used for the last 3 weeks now, helping keep the van cool. So the final cowl, this one, the smallest one, can go on the front. get the two little things in there, and it's got obviously a button to release it. And you use this with the putting the pipe, eventually getting the pipe on the front here, allows you to pump cold air into a tent or something like that. I must confess, I haven't used it in this sort of format because I'm quite happy with the air coming out of there and the single pipe. But it's fairly flexible then. Obviously you could use that for a tent, or even sort of putting cold air into a car before you set off or something like that. Yeah. Right, so this unit is the backup battery. It comes with a carry handle so you can carry it around. The unit itself, the WAVE 2, sits on top of that. Turn it round. On the front of it you've got a couple of USB-C and a USB-A, so you could use this backup battery to power a phone or something like that. And you press the button and it tells you how much charge with these two little LEDs on it. On here is a little release mechanism, you see that? And on the side there is the socket where you connect the unit to. It comes with this little connector cable. I'll show you that in a second. You can't charge the battery on its own. It needs to be charged via one of these leads. So you need that lead in to allow you to charge it. There's no sort of separate charging. It would have been nice if it had its own charge controller, but I think it is simply a battery and it needs some electronics to control it, and the electronics obviously are in the WAVE 2. Yeah, so to connect it, put it towards the back like that, and there's like slidey things there, and hold the unit and you push it until it clicks, and that's it. And then you can connect this cable here. Push that in, and push that in, and push that in. And then you probably want to wind the AC cable out of the way. And now it's battery operated. There we go. So it's now running on battery. And it tells you how many hours you've got of runtime of the battery. Now bear in mind this battery is not fully charged. I will show you a little bit later how long I think this runs off the portable battery, but that's the unit connected. Now together that's quite a weight. So we're set on chilling on standard, and there's about 1.4 hours in a half charge battery there. Just want to point out that this plastic finish here is subject to scratches, a couple of scratches there and a scratch there, so it does scratch quite easily if you're transporting it a fair bit. Battery is additional, separate cost to that, but you can buy them as a bundle, and I'll talk about the price later. To disconnect the battery you need to unplug this connector, and there's a unit here, this thing here. Push that down and push the unit back. It's quite stiff to remove, and then you can lift it out of the way. And that's the backup battery. So the specifications, it's 518 by 297 by 336 millimeters. On its own it weighs 14.5 kilograms and its maximum power consumption is 820 watts. The additional battery weighs 7.8 kilograms, and that's 518 by 272 by 92. On its own it's £949, and as a bundle you can buy it with a backup battery for £1,599. Now if you already have an EcoFlow Delta, you can use the Wave 2 with it, provided you get the additional cable. I'm just using the exhaust hose at the moment. I've plugged it into the wall, got it in the bedroom. I'm going to switch it on. It comes up with this alarm, 38, and like a red thing on there, and that's all I've been able to do with it. So just to show that things don't always go to plan, there's nothing in the manual that says what 38 means, and I can't see anything that's particularly wrong, so I think I've actually got a faulty sample here. Oh good. So I just switched it off, switch it back on again, see if anything different happens. Starts blowing. See the fans going, so I've got no battery connected here, so there's something to do with that. It feels relatively cold. Seems to be going alright for a bit now. Perhaps we'll leave it on and see what happens. Well, it's been going for a few minutes now. I've turned the fan down a little bit, the fan speed. That's that button there. Leave the temperature set on 20. That's the temperature, ambient air temperature. Now set it to heat. So it's now warming up. It'll take a while for that to change, but this glows orange when it's heating. So put it on fan. Oh, and a sort of a greeny colour when it's just the fan. Okay. I'll go back to cooling because that's what we mainly want it to do. Okay. Well, it seems to be working all right. What that business was earlier, we'll come back later. Right, so it's about 10 to 9 at the moment, so if I unplug this and look at the display, it says it's going to run for 4.6 hours on the battery, which was fully charged, and just got it set on normal on a single fan speed, set on 21 degrees. So let's see how long it actually lasts. I've timed 4 hours just running on the battery, and it says it's got 20 minutes to go, so I think the time is pretty accurate. So expect about 4 hours just doing the normal sort of chilling, set at 21 degrees. The ambient temperature is 20.5, so yeah, seems to be working okay. Now it's the hottest day of the year so far. The temperature's going up to 28 outside. We're in the lounge, and I've positioned the EcoFlow so that I can close the curtains, and I've got the door tied back with a bit of string there, and the pipe's going out the window. I like to have the curtains closed, obviously, because it keeps the sun off. Can't quite close the curtains. The problem I've got is this lead, and I don't know if I mentioned it before, but this lead is not quite long enough, but probably just about to reach that plug, but I'll be tripping over it. Now I haven't brought the backup battery down because I want to demonstrate something else here. This has got a port on it, and we can use another backup battery rather than the one that's designed for the Wave 2. And what we've got here is the Delta 2, this original Delta, plugged in via the cable that comes for the backup battery for it into the side of the Wave 2. Now the backup battery that comes with, or you can buy for the Wave 2, I should say, gave just over 4 hours runtime. This gives, well, it says 5.6 now, I think it's settled down. So it gives about 5.6 hours. So I could, of course, charge that to allow it to power that if I had no other means. Of course, if I stick a solar panel out the window, I could charge that. EcoFlow's 220 watt solar panel, bifacial solar panel it is. I've done a review on this before. It's actually got a solar panel at the back. I don't quite know why they bother with that. It picks up some ambient light, and it's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit of a strange sort of setup here with this case. It feels like it's going to blow down all the time, but I think it's pretty secure. So that's going indoors. It makes more sense to plug the solar into the power bank than into the EcoFlow when you've not got a backup battery attached. So now we're cooking. So I'm getting 170 watts or so. It is a very hot day out there. Into the Delta, well, the Delta Max this one is, and it's putting 67. Well, I was putting 100 watts, so it depends. Oh, I got my error message back. Oh, good. Oh, heck. Right, so I followed what it said in the instruction message. It's disconnected the battery and restarted the hose. Now I've connected it up to, I've given up and connected it up to AC, and so far it seems to be running all right. Don't think it likes being messed about with, but it doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Keep seeing this error message, and I don't know if any of the other people who've had this Wave 2 on review have had the same problem. Maybe people can let me know, but I can't honestly recommend it if it keeps coming up with this error message. I've contacted support, and they've said to do what I've just done, to restart it, and they want to know the serial number and everything, and of course I've done all that. It's worked all right, but as soon as you change something, it seems to be, I don't know what it is, that error message comes back up. It may just be that this is a faulty review sample, but anyway, I'll contact EcoFlow again and let them know. The reason for putting it up on this table is to drain it. If you don't put it up on the table, you can't drain it. Now this is the drain tube, obviously in a bucket, in a bowl. So what you do is you press and hold this for a second, and a little symbol comes up there to say it's draining the water. It says it's draining. There's two symbols. There's one showing the level and one showing that the fact it's draining. Okay. I've also set it up now so that this is drawing in air from outside. I don't know what sort of difference that makes, but obviously it makes it quite a bit more cumbersome, but there you go. I also want to mention the drain function. You can of course use the hose there, but there is a function that allows what's called evaporative draining. The other thing I've noticed is with the drain function, this came up with a message on the app saying it was overflowing, so I thought, well, I'd stick it onto this draining function on the app. Now the problem is, you put the hose in, I've got the hose in here and going out there, but there's nothing coming out of the hose. And I know it's draining, but if I take this out, there we go, starts to drip all over the carpet. So this doesn't actually allow it to drain properly. So I think there's a bit of a design flaw there. we'll select the Wave 2. There we are, there's the Wave 2. Just move it away from the unit itself, otherwise you won't hear what I'm saying. So here's the main screen for it. It tells you at the top here the air outlet temperature. You can switch it off with the red button up there. It's got a timer, so you could set a timer so that it would run for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, however long you want it to run. That's quite nice. Yeah, it goes up to 8 hours. Obviously you can change the temperature, you can just use the slider. I've currently got it on eco mode there. Different modes you can use. Manual, you can customize the temperature and the fan speed. Okay, but then there's sort of like 3 preset modes. Max, probably hear it speeding up now. If you're asleep, that's quite a nice one. If you've got it in the bedroom, it's a little bit quieter. And the one I've got it on at the moment, so I'm reducing the power consumption. It doesn't seem to make that much difference, the amount of cooling. Obviously you've got cool down at the bottom, you've got heat, and you've got fan. So fan is just blowing air, so if you want a bit of a breeze, you can use that. Heat would be useful in the winter, and if you hit that, you can set the temperature you want it to be at. So in heating mode, the display changes to red. It takes a while, obviously, for it to warm up, but I don't intend using that in the middle of summer. And the fan mode goes to a sort of a light blue colour on the front here, and that's just blowing out air. So that's the main screen. Obviously here is selecting the mode and the different things on the thing. So you can control all of it from the app. If I click on the gear icon, we go into the settings. At the top you can rename it. You could share it with other people who've got the app so they can control it. That's how long the screen stays on. You've got whether you want it in Fahrenheit or centigrade. And you can choose whether you want to show the ambient temperature or the air outlet temperature. So I've now got it showing the air outlet temperature. Switch it to ambient temperature. Ambient temperature is the sort of temperature around, I suppose. The air outlet is the temperature on the air outlet, which is there. This is the drain mode. You probably want it set on the drain free mode. It's equipped with a self-evaporative and drain free system for cooling mode, which eliminates the need for outward drainage in non-high humidity environments. So I don't know how it determines whether you're in a high humidity or not, but if that fails and that tells you've got a problem, then you might want to use the external drainage, and you can connect that hose that I showed earlier. So I'm going to leave it on the drain free because that's probably what you want, particularly if you've got it on the floor. Ambient lighting, you can have it always on, always off, or according to the screen time. So that's always on, that's always off. So if the light annoys you, you can turn it off. And if you put it on there, it just goes off when the screen goes off. think I'm quite happy with it off there, so I'll leave it off. That's whether you want to beep or not. Nothing else in there. Firmware, you can check it's up to date, and it will update via your Wi-Fi. It needs obviously to be connected to the Wi-Fi. You've got help and feedback, and nothing in there at the moment. I assume they're working on that, but you can contact customer support from there. And it gives you the specifications here. So there's the specifications. So you can use 400 watts max solar, you can use 192 car charger, that would be an 8 amp car charger. The add-on battery is 700 watts. It weighs 14.5 kilograms, and that's without the add-on battery obviously. Dimensions are 518 by 297 by 336 millimeters, or 20 inch by just nearly 12 inch by just over 13 inch. Got Bluetooth, and only supports 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It says the noise level is 44 to 56. It does make a bit of noise, you can hear it. Depends obviously how fast it's going, and it's got a no drain function. It sort of says that the area you can cool is 10 square meters, somewhat less than 10 square meters, and it's splash proof. I think IPX4 means it's not, obviously it wouldn't work underwater, as you can probably gather. Rated cooling power is 550 watts, or on AC, and 495 on DC. So that's the Wave 2 app. I have to admit, it's rather nice to come back to an air conditioning unit. What's this? Just switch that on. In here it's 33 degrees, and just opened the fridge so it's a little bit warmer. It was 6 degrees the fridge, but I've got it on maxed out. But let's see how quickly this can cool down in here. Put it on max. I'm going to shut the door. I'll shut this door as well. I'll come back in 10 minutes. Alright, 10 minutes have gone past. Let's see what the temperature is in here now. Alright, 30 degrees. Okay, it's dropped it 3 degrees in here. Still pretty cold. I wouldn't say it's massively cold, it's not icy cold. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's only dropped it 3 degrees. Oh well. We're on hookup. We're here on hookup, and before I hook up, I'm just going to put this. It's a 6 amp hookup, so I'm going to limit it. That will stop the water heater taking too much current and tripping the supply. There we go. Now the other thing is we've got the EcoFlow going, so I thought I won't plug it in via the main socket. I'll use the add-on battery. So that's the addition for the EcoFlow. I'll be doing a review on the EcoFlow a little bit later, perhaps when we get home, and let you know how we get on with it, or how we got on with it. At the moment, that's blasting out nice cold air, isn't it, Popsy? That's good, isn't it? He always gets herself in the best position. It's 29.9 thereabouts in here. So someone suggested, I've not opened the roofs. I opened the roof. No, they're all closed. Just got the blinds across. Yeah, so someone from New Zealand suggested that you need the doors and windows closed for air conditioning to work effectively. So So I'm going to put this on max. And see how much that cools it down. It's actually gone down 28.7 there, 28.4. So I'll shut the door and we'll see. We'll come back in 10 minutes. Right, I've had the windows closed, the roofs closed and everything, and I think it was 1:35. So it's had over half an hour, or just about half an hour, to cool down. It was on 29.9, I think I remember. It's now on 23.8. So it's dropped at about 6 degrees in about half an hour. Okay. Right, so the other use of the EcoFlow WAVE 2 is using in an awning. Now, I could use this on battery. I've got the battery connected, but I've also got it connected to a solar panel outside. So the solar panel's charging the backup battery. So in theory, well, it says I've got 50 odd minutes at the moment, so I don't know how long. Depends how strong the sun is, of course. But that's blown a nice stream of cold air into the awning. And it would be probably even better if I put that outside the awning. But guess who forgot to bring the cowl that goes on there that allows you to use that to beam the cool air into the awning. So presumably it's drawing in a bit of air from outside the awning, which is probably warm, so it's probably less than efficient here. But I mean, either way, that's drawing warm air from outside. I'll just show you the solar panel. Yeah, this is EcoFlow's 220 watt bifacial solar panel. You need an additional cable, this cable here, to connect it to anything else. But there's my hot air outlet there. So there we are. Portable air conditioning and a drive-away awning. Started at 34 in here, so now 30. Yeah, that's about 6 minutes, and it's dropped it down to 27 degrees. So I've got all the sort of curtains and windows closed. So comparing it with a roof or perhaps a bench-mounted air conditioning unit, they take up quite a bit less space, but they are single use. The WAVE 2 can be used almost anywhere. It's not as powerful as most roof or bench-mounted units. This is 5100 BTU versus most air conditioning units, about 8,000. So this is probably better in a smaller van, and it's possibly a little underpowered for our motorhome. Some roof-mounted units can also be heard quite clearly on campsites when you're outside. The EcoFlow 2 is fairly quiet, and at least it's inside the motorhome. What about the drawbacks and issues? Well, I've got a bit of a problem with this not draining or condensing water. That tray keeps filling up. And error 38, I've no idea what that's about. Plastic cover is a bit prone to scratches, and this takes up a fair bit of floor space in the motorhome when you've been using it. Been transporting it in the car, but it will fit under the bed if we don't take the awning. The weight with the battery is a massive 22.3 kilos. It's almost as heavy as a Delta 2 Max. You can't charge the battery on its own, and that needs to be connected to the WAVE 2 to charge. Runtime on the additional battery I found is about 4 hours, depending on what settings you've got it on. Solar power helps, but the max solar input is 400 watts, and this consumes 800 watts on full power. and you have to find storage when it's not in use. It's a bit of a faff with the pipes out the window, I have to confess. Plus points, because of its different power sources, you can use it almost anywhere. You don't need a separate air conditioning unit at home or away. It's cheaper than a roof mounted air conditioning unit, and it's quieter. You could also use it in the winter as an additional heater or just a simple fan. Now, a lot of campsites are likely to be charging for electricity, and I've even heard some are banning mains powered air conditioning units, so an aircon that is battery and solar powered starts to make a lot of sense. So my conclusion, if you only need air conditioning for your motorhome, you might be better with a roof or bench mounted unit. It would take up less space and probably be simpler to use. But if you need air conditioning for different places, in a home, in a shed, in a motorhome, in a tent, this is something to consider. Now, I am a bit concerned about the draining issues, but I will let you know how I get on with the replacement when I get it. So the new unit is actually draining. So I'll just put the drain function on, and I noticed it's draining out the water, because the old unit didn't do that, so it was definitely a fault. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's got rid of quite a bit of water there. Quite amazing. This has been on most of the afternoon since it arrived. This is a new unit, and I've had it on non-draining function, but some water has built up. But at least now I know the drain function does work. So if you found this interesting, please do hit that like button and let us know, is this something you're interested in? Please don't forget to follow the links in the description to check out the EcoFlow WAVE 2. So thanks for watching. Bye now.